Hey, this is Jersey. You're listening to the Garden State.
You're listening to The Garden State, the only New Jersey podcast that gives you all of the news you need to hear this week. My name is Josh Sobo.
And I'm Jordan Morris.
And today we're flying the ship with just two men.
This is going to be really weird, I feel like.
Well, we have a third man in the studio today. Ralph is over behind the board, our good friend Ralph. Ralph, thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome.
Oh, he grabbed the mic. I love that. But this is it for the summer of madness, where we've been having lots of fill-ins, you know. And next week, Josh Chomik will be back.
But Jimmy's still out, right?
But Jimmy is gone in California for a few weeks. So I feel like I'm the only consistent thing about this podcast anymore. But that's okay.
What about me?
Well, you too. You are the ultimate DH hitter. You fill in wherever is needed.
Yeah.
But it's really good to be back. We're in August now. Today is August 1st as we're recording this. You're listening on August 2nd. I feel like Memorial Day was last week. I say this every year. I feel like an old man. Time is flying.
It really is.
Life is flying. I don't know what's going on.
It's the same thing about 4th of July. Like, I feel like it just happened. We're
Yeah.
like, we're like a month away now.
Oh, it's weird. It's really weird to think about. Hey, Jordan, last night I got a lot of heat on my social media page because something related to you, actually, in some way.
Yeah.
I was reading my daughter baby books last night, and I came upon this one book. What's actually the name of the book?
Love You Forever, I think.
Yeah, that's it. Love You. Let me just confirm that before. Yeah.
Is it Robert Munsch or something is the author?
Yeah, Munch. There's this baby book, Love You Forever. I read it last night. Apparently, Jordan is a big fan of this book.
I wouldn't say a fan. It's just that I know of it because my mom used to read it to me.
I've never read it in my life. I think your mom actually gave us this book.
Probably.
Because it's one of her favorites.
Yeah, for a lot
Possibly.
of people.
Because after I posted all that, Shelby was like, oh, Miss Holly gave us that. She loves it. And I'm like, oh, now I feel bad because your mom is the best. But this baby book is about basically death. And it caught me so off guard last night. I'm reading books to my daughter. And I had Shelby read it. And then she starts crying. Shelby was like tearing up reading this book. And I'm like, where did we get this from? So you read this book a lot growing up, huh?
Yeah.
I wonder if if our listeners know this book and if they're
people gotta.
It's very
classic.
popular. I didn't know this is so. There's a Friends episode about it.
I didn't know that.
Someone was like, there's a whole Friends episode where Joey reads this book.
Did they say like what happens? Like, is it like scarring to him or something? Like,
let's find out together. Friends episode, Love You Forever.
because I'll be honest, it was kind of scarring.
Oh, here we go. Love Me Forever by Joey. Friends.
I will be doing a dramatic reading of one of Emma's books.
Oh, okay. Which one?
Well, it's one of her favorites. Riding the Storm Out, Coping with Postpartum Depression.
Yeah, so I guess Joey reads the book. And the top comment on this video is, I was not ready for this today. It's so realistic for that book. I guess that's what he says at the end. I don't know. I'd never read the book before and genuinely was taken aback.
Yeah.
Yeah, and baby books are funny. I really think we should write a New Jersey baby book. There are some. I have a few because I did the podcast at my daughter's baby shower. People were giving us like Garden State baby books.
Yeah.
Felt like, oh, today I went to Sandy Hook. It's like all these different places. But I think we could write a better baby book.
You think so?
I think we could write the New Jersey baby book.
Do you want it to be like a fun baby book or something like emotional, like Love You Forever? Like, what angle are we going for?
Well, I definitely don't want death in the baby book.
Okay.
I
that's
think
kind of weird.
I think I'd rather keep it lighthearted. But it needs to have a theme. Like maybe about a Jersey tomato and all his garden friends.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Or maybe he runs for governor of the Garden State and he's a tomato. And everyone doesn't like him because he's a tomato. Like, look, this could be a book. A Jersey tomato as the governor.
And he wins. He somehow wins anyway.
You know what?
He overcomes.
It reminds me of the scene in The Elf.
And
Where
what?
he's like, an elf.
Which one?
The movie Elf? Are you messing with me?
No, but what scene I'm saying?
where they're writing the children's book and he's like, it's about a pear. And he's like, what does he say? He's like,
no, it's not a
what's
pear.
more vulnerable than a pear?
Yeah.
Or a peach?
So yeah, something like a peach.
And then he's like, what about a gang of asparagus children? I don't know. Yeah, everybody has ideas for children's book. You realize everybody's like, I could write a children's book. But Ralph, you got any children's book ideas over there?
Tomato sounds good, actually.
Tomato sounds good.
I used to eat tomatoes like apples when I was growing up. So
I used
think
to
would
as
like the
well.
book.
You have to put a little salt on it.
You guys eat tomatoes like apples?
Yeah, like a
Wow.
big steak tomato. You put salt on it. You just eat it. It's actually so good.
It's a little bit weird. But
Salt is exactly what I was used to.
Yeah.
all right. Well, look, you guys could eat your tomatoes like
You've never
apples.
done that?
No, that's a little strange. Let's get into the mailbag this week. We haven't done this in a while, and I'm wondering if Jordan, if you feel like you might be able to play that jingle for the listeners, so we could hear what the people of the Garden State have been up to and what they're saying. All the way
What is
top
it?
left, blue.
Ready?
The number to call into the mailbag is
908 67 99 99 3.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Brendan, your resident wildlife biologist. Just wanted to share a couple wildlife tidbits from the last episode. You guys were talking about the shark attacks in New Jersey that were kind of what Jaws was based on. Many marine biologists, especially as time has gone on, more recent to date, have thought that the shark that ate the guy in the Mattawan Creek was actually a bull shark, because for a while it was the big mystery of, why was a great white up in the Mattawan Creek? And bull sharks like brackish water, so they will go up in a creek that has fresh water flowing into it, in like a brackish water creek. Another one was the seagull story. It's a big thing in the wildlife field that really ruffles some feathers.
Literally
calling them seagulls, although that's what I grew up calling them, and everybody knows them as. You're actually supposed to call them by their specific name, whether it be like a herring gull or a ring-billed gull. So always in like the wildlife field, they always just say, like, if you don't know what kind of specific gull it was, you should just say, I saw a gull or the gulls, but everybody always just goes to seagull. And the third one was, I always gotta be picking on my boy Jimmy Parks. Love you, Jimmy, but he mentioned the Canadian geese, and it's Canada geese, whether it's a Canada goose or Canada geese, singular or plural. They're not owned by Canada, and they didn't really originate or come from Canada.
Jimmy's not gonna like that one.
The name is just Canada goose. It doesn't adopt the IEN ending. Everything's sounding good on the podcast lately, boys. Have a great summer.
Brandon, we need a Christmas tree soon, brother. Hope you're doing well. So a few things to get to in that episode, I almost said, in that voice memo. First, he talked about the shark attacks down the shore. If you didn't listen last week, we talked about how in 1916, there were 3 major shark attacks, and they were the basis for the movie Jaws. There was a book, let me see if I can find it, 1916 Shark Attacks book that you can read. If you're into this sort of Jersey lore, read Close to Shore. This is a historical detail. So it says, combining rich historical detail and a harrowing, pulse-pounding narrative, Close to Shore brilliantly recreates the summer of 1916 when a rogue great white shark attacked swimmers along the New Jersey shore, triggering mass hysteria and launching the most extensive shark hunt in history. It sounds like a really good book, actually. Close to Shore. So the book just basically goes through this summer, and that was the basis for Jaws, which is, again, a summer classic.
Yeah.
So interesting. He's making the point here that there was a second shark. There's a second shooter, and he was a bullnose shark, he said?
Something like or just a bull shark? Is that what he said?
A bull shark. They like brackish water. Okay, so I have no qualms about that. I could accept that fact. Brandon is around the right people to know this.
Yeah.
Where I do have a qualm is in the use of seagull. Apparently that's the wrong. He's saying that we're saying the wrong name for these birds. There's all sorts of gulls.
Is he saying seagull's like a general term for him though, or is that like an actual specific one, and then the other ones have specific names as well?
I took it as the seagull is a specific type, so you're calling other things seagulls that aren't actually seagulls, which I could respect that. But lastly, the Canadian geese thing, I think Jimmy's going to be annoyed by that. I think that was probably a misspeak by Jimmy. We misspeak a lot. If you do a
think
podcast,
so? Or do you think he just didn't know that?
Canadian geese? Maybe he knew it. I don't know. Maybe not. Oh, Jimmy. Jimmy's not here to defend himself, so I can't say one way or the other. But Brandon, thanks for calling in with the wildlife update. Appreciate it, man. Hope things are going well. In the prep, Brandon, his family has a Christmas tree farm he went to last year. Hope everything's going well in the run-up prep to Christmas, man. And can't believe we're in August. 2 more months. 2 months, people will be, September, October. 3 months, people will be thinking about Christmas trees.
Yeah, that's weird.
Very strange. This year, I don't know what's going on. All right, so now that we got through the mailbag, let's get into some news.
Ooh.
What do you think?
I'm excited.
Oh, okay. Let's talk New Jersey news. But again, if you want to read a fun New Jersey book, read Close to Shore to learn more about the shark attacks in 1916 and all about the origins of Jaws. Although it's not connected to Jaws. It was just the source material more so. And Jaws is a great movie. I love Jaws. Really, really good. All right. Let's dive in to another fishy story. It feels like every week we have a fish story now. Thousands of dead fish are causing a big stink in one Jersey Shore town.
See, this is one of the few issues I have with like going down the shore. Is every once in a while, you run into something like this. You get out of your car and it just like absolutely reeks.
Yeah, it is a very nasty smell.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't think of many things worse than like a rotting fish.
Well, there's two things down the shore that stink. It's the fish, and then it's when the tide goes out in the more swampy areas.
Yeah.
Like, you ever swim in the ocean with your bathing suit, and then you leave it out to like dry at like the shore house or whatever, and then you smell it later?
Yeah, it just
and it just smells like death. And that's what happens to entire areas of basically marshland when the tide goes out. But then you also have this is really weird. It says something is rotten in the state of New Jersey, specifically a shore town called Little Egg Harbor. They didn't have to do Little Egg Harbor like that. It's not that rotten. Thousands of dead fish have floated to the surface near homes and businesses in the area, filling the lagoon and attracting flocks of seagulls. Findings from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection's Fish and Wildlife Department say that high fish mortality in Little Egg Harbor's lagoon is due to water quality. The New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection has shared a statement with Fox 29 Philadelphia that staff determined that poor water quality resulting from warmer temperatures and low dissolved oxygen in the lagoon resulted in the fish mortality in the lagoon. So they got a lot of fish dying. Oh my Lord. Have you been seeing these photos?
That's insane.
I never saw this photo before. This is different. Wow. So if you're listening to me, this is a podcast. Just search dead fish thousands cause big stink in small Jersey Shore town. Nice, easy sentence for you. Google. You'll see photos of like thousands of dead fish. It says Fish and Wildlife staff determined that this was an isolated event and most of the dead fish will naturally be removed by the lagoon, from the lagoon by tides or by tide flow, the statement concluded. In the meantime, residents near the lagoon in Little Egg Harbor are staying indoors to avoid the smell. It's definitely unhealthy. You can't go outside. You can't breathe. You really can't stay outside for more than 10 minutes. This is like a plague in Egypt.
Yeah.
This is like Prince of Egypt status. Like a bunch of dead fish in the harbor near all these beautiful big homes. Maybe there's a message here for us. Maybe we should. You know that meme that's like me looking outside trying to figure out what chapter of Revelation we're in today.
Yeah.
That's this vibe right here. It's like, what is going on in the world? This is like a wild thing to see.
It really is. I was not expecting that picture either. Where it's just like completely covering the water right there.
I do have a solution to this.
What?
In our town, there's a garden place called an arboretum. And when all the plants die in the fall, they send in the goats. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Do we need a water goat?
We need a bunch of seals. We get a pack of like 1,000 seals and we just release them. Like this would be a non-issue in about 3 days.
Or what about they said that seagulls are taking care of it.
Well, first off, don't call them seagulls.
Well, they said it in the article, so I was assuming.
fool.
I was actually thinking that when they said it in the article, I'm like, are they actually seagulls or are they something else?
Yeah, well, Brandon would not be happy with that definition, but we're going to call them seagulls. Yeah, seagulls, they're going to move slower. They don't eat a lot, but a big seal, a bunch of fat seals that are just swimming through, or some sea lions. And we'd have people back hanging out on their boats by Wednesday if we got going to this. But it is pretty insane to see. And it's also crazy to think, like, could this become a trend? You know, this is a really warm summer. You know, some would say that this is the new normal for our weather. You know, things are changing a bit. Some would say it's just an unseasonably warm summer.
Yeah.
It's a controversial debate. Jordan, where do you fall on that debate? I'm kidding. You want to get into it. So it says it's unclear how long it will last to wash the dead fish away with the natural ebb and flow of tides. But that's where it leaves us, is we just got to wait for these fish to go with the tides. Kind of interesting. I would hate it if I worked my whole life and invested in a $2 million house.
And then it smells horrible every
Right
time you
there.
go outside.
These houses are so beautiful. And right outside, the water is completely covered. It looks like a cranberry bog. You ever watch the Ocean Spray commercial with all the cranberries on top? That's what it looks like, but with fish.
Imagine swimming in that.
Yeah, it'd be in the cranberry bog?
No, in that.
Oh, in this. I think you'd get a disease. I
Think so?
I think so.
Should we do like a special about that?
You'll get salmonella.
Will you, from a fish?
Maybe. I mean, they are dead. They probably have a lot of bacteria. Fish kind of creep me out. I mean, like, I like eating salmon, but my wife got food poisoning from salmon not too long ago, and it messed with me, man.
I was just talking about sushi last night because, like,
It's crazy.
I feel like I know like quite a few people who've gotten tapeworms and stuff from eating sushi.
Yeah. Yeah, there are people. I mean, sushi freaks. I like sushi. That's the thing, is it's really good, but I don't understand how it works. I don't understand how you can sushi salmon. Like they just cut it open and feed it to you raw. To me, I read this story this week. This is actually crazy. Girlfriend death, I think it was oysters. Yeah, YouTuber Billy LeBlanc's partner Natalie Clark dies from infection after eating raw oysters.
What?
So this guy and his girlfriend were eating raw oysters. They both got a serious, I guess they ate some sort of bacteria, and he went unconscious for a few days in a coma, and then she just died. So I don't know. Not worth the risk.
Never mind. I'm not going to swim in that.
Yeah, you don't want to die.
I take it back.
All right, let's keep it moving here. Another weird story. I guess that's a good story, but you know, I was at the gas station this morning, and my gas station attendant listens to the pod from time to time, and specifically on Thursday mornings when I'm at Wawa, he's always there, and he was like, "Lots of crazy stories, man. They're always crazy." And I'm thinking, like, yeah, it's never. You just can't believe it. Always.
Yeah.
And I know we say that every week, but it goes without saying. Okay, next story. A pilot parachuted to safety in New Jersey moments before his plane crashed.
Scary stuff.
Epic stuff, man. He lived to tell the tale.
I'm always curious where their planes actually land.
I think the plane...
Or crash, I should say.
I think it just went into some trees. Because it says there's a video that shows red, white, and blue parachute in trees with the plane's wreckage next to it. So let's dive in here. This is in Galloway, New Jersey. A pilot parachuted to safety before his plane crashed in a wooded area near Atlantic City International Airport Wednesday afternoon, reports say. FAA spokeswoman Elizabeth Corey said a single-engine Cirrus SR-22 went down around 3:40 p.m. Video shows the red and white parachute in the trees with the plane's wreckage next to it. NBC Philadelphia cited police officials who said the pilot used a parachute to land safely. The pilot was the only person on board, was not injured in the crash, according to Galloway police. FAA records show the plane is registered to Florlin Aviation in West Palm Beach, Florida. The FAA is going to investigate the crash, and that's all we got. But let's check out this video from, I think this is NBC Philadelphia. We'll have to wait 30 seconds because there's an ad. We could talk during the ad. Because this is in the Garden State, you know?
Yeah.
You guys get to listen to all this news ad-free. And we curate it.
Have you ever been on like a a single engine plane?
I haven't, and since starting this podcast, I used to want to get my pilot's license, and now I don't think I do anymore.
I know. I feel like there's always stories about these planes going down.
We've probably had, in the last 2.5 years, we've probably done 4 or 5 stories about planes crashing. Here, let's check out this video. So what we're looking at, if you're listening, is the view from a helicopter of this parachute stuck on trees. You can't even really see the plane. I'm guessing it's somewhere deep in the woods, but yeah, I mean, oh, there you go. There's a slight view of the plane. Lucky to be alive, man. Holy cow. You know what this...
So he landed that close to his plane? That's kind of insane.
It is insane. It was going straight down.
Like, yeah.
Maybe he was close
How
to...
last second did he jump out?
Do you know what I think of every time I see a parachute stuck in trees? Tell me if you think of this too.
What?
What does that remind you of, a parachute?
Stuck in a tree? Is
Yeah.
it from a movie?
Yeah. Don't look at my screen.
Probably Jurassic Park? No?
Did you see me write that?
I actually just watched that recently.
Do you remember the scene where they get stuck and then you see the skeleton stuck in the tree?
Yeah.
Oh, good movie. What is that, Jurassic Park 2 or 3? That's the third one. I saw that in theaters as a kid. Jurassic Park 3. Not as good as the first, but still.
No, it reminds me of Madagascar.
What happens there?
With the plane that's stuck in the tree. And they find the skeleton.
That's
like
right.
The pilot.
That's right. Yeah, lots of that same story happening across the world. By the way, Paris Olympics going on right now. I just scrolled down a little bit. Jersey legend Sidney McLaughlin is there running track. This is just below the article I was reading. Has she ran yet?
I don't know. I really haven't been following the Olympics at all.
Yeah, me neither, actually. I haven't followed anything. Let's see if she medals. Let's see if she got any medals so far. Doesn't look like she's ran yet. Okay, great. Let's keep it moving here. Any thoughts on the piloting parachute?
He should be more careful next time.
Yeah, he should make sure the one engine. See, like a single engine plane is just not a good idea.
It really isn't.
You need like a dual turbine. What's that?
Are most of those small planes dual engine?
I think most of those the little tiny ones are single because they just have the prop in the front. But you can get the smaller ones that have like the props on the dual props.
Yeah,
I don't know what they're
one
actually
on-
called
one
on the
on
wings.
each wing.
Yeah. But this one sounds like it was just straight in the front. And I just have less of a desire to go on a private little plane.
Oh, yeah,
after
I have no desire, but who knows?
Yeah. All right, here's a controversial one. In Newark, New Jersey, an 8-foot fence was built around a park with the intention of keeping the homeless out. This is a controversial story.
Very controversial. Because where are they supposed to go now?
Somewhere else.
But that's the thing. They're just going to go to another park.
Yeah, I mean, so this is in the Ironbound. They've been building up the Ironbound. Ironbound is changing. I think anybody that's familiar with the area would tell you that there's a lot of development going on, a lot of properties being sold to developers and all this. So they're trying to, I guess, clean it up in some way. And it says the Ironbound Business Improvement District erected a fence around Peter Francisco Park in Newark, where the IBID board member and East Ward City Councilman Michael Silva said homeless people had been desecrating monuments to Portuguese immigrants and war veterans and scaring away customers to local business. So that's the premise here is they're saying in this park there's statues, I guess, to Portuguese immigrants because this is a heavily Portuguese section of Newark, if you know anything about the Ironbound. Lots of good food, great barbecue over there.
Yeah.
And so I guess they put the fence up with the hopes that would deter people from.
Is it just fences around the statues or is it around the whole park?
It looks like it's around the entire park based on the photo.
Does that
Yeah.
mean that nobody's allowed in the park? Or like, do they have somebody like monitoring like who comes in and
let's
out?
keep going in the article and we'll get into that. So opponents of the fence say it effectively closes a public park for the sake of local business interests in a misguided and possibly unconstitutional approach to park maintenance and safety that criminalizes homelessness. Disagreement over the fence exemplifies the complexity and continuousness of dealing with street homelessness, even in Newark, a progressive city that, according to state data for policies and projects, not only move people indoors, but also provides wraparound services to keep them off the street. So that was a run-on sentence, by the way.
Very much so.
So this is it's an interesting argument. You know, I had a situation happen to me. I'll speak from personal experience. I live in just a little suburban town, and in the center of our town, we have a park where we take my daughter. It's a big park. And in one section of the park, there's this little war memorial, and it says something to the extent of, here lies, or here stands in memory of the men of name of my town who died in the Great War. So there's a World War I monument, and then there's a World War II monument next to it. It's a really nice little sacred sort of area. And I'm walking through the park one day with my daughter, just me and her. Mind you, at this point, she's probably a year old, maybe a little younger. And there's a homeless gentleman, and he has like a brown bag. So I'm assuming he's, intoxicated. And he's peeing on the World War I monument. And I'm walking, and I'm like, well, first off, I'm not going to say anything because I'm with my daughter, and he's drunk. Who knows what he's going to do? It's like you're torn. Like you want to be like, hey, man, like you got to go somewhere else. But at the same time, it's a big park. If he had to pee that bad, there's plenty of room to pee. Like, trust me, there's lots of trees. There's lots of areas. So I did what any good Karen would do. I went on our town's Facebook page, which Shelby always is like, get off that Facebook page. I love it. I think it's the most fun thing in the world. And I'm like, hey, everybody. I was just walking through the park with my daughter, and there was a homeless gentleman peeing on the World War II monument. Could we possibly think through maybe putting some sort of a fence up around that part of the park so the homeless don't go pee on, there's plenty of space for them elsewhere in the park.
Yeah, they could pee in other places in the park.
You would think that I asked for genocide or something with the way people responded to me. They were like, first off, they're unhoused, not homeless. Second off, how do you know they're not veterans? 70% of homeless people are veterans, or whatever the number, or 30%, whatever the number is. And I'm like, guys, I wasn't trying to get into a debate. I was simply saying there's a small section of the park where we honor people that died for us, right? It's for the dead. I think it's kind of dystopian that people are peeing on the monuments. Like,
yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
And
people are defending it. Even if he is a veteran, like that doesn't give you the right to
that's
pee
what I
in
said.
public
I said
on a war memorial.
I said, even if he is a veteran, other veterans would say to him, hey man, cut it out. Like, we're honoring dead people here. He didn't die. So, I mean, it was controversial. I wasn't trying to be controversial. It just, it's rare things offend me, but when I see somebody peeing on a World War II memorial, I'm like, that's messed up. Like just
peeing in a public park out in the open. That in itself is...
That was the other part is I'm like, how... I'm the victim of this. My 1-year-old daughter and I are walking through a park and someone's peeing in public. Like how when I didn't say anything mean, I just simply put it out there like, hey, maybe we could do something to protect this area of the park. Somehow he becomes the victim, and I'm this horrible like oppressor that's trying just to call out. I wasn't even rude about it. I was just like, could we maybe do something? And it just drove me a little bit nuts. I deleted the post after like 10 minutes because I was like, I'm not getting involved. There's just no gain here. There's no way to I'm just trying to make the town better. And a lot of people agreed. The ones that disagreed had some crazy perspectives. But if we don't honor those that came before us and we don't respect them and honor their legacy, then we have no culture. There's nothing happen. This is nothing. This is just it's the collapse of the empire.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
So, but that's a different case than this one. I mean, it's different because that's just a small section of a large park. There's a playground and other grassy areas and other benches to sit on. Like if you could imagine, I'm trying to think of like larger than the Morristown Green, big sort of park.
So my question is it around is it a sealed fence or is it like a gate or something?
In Newark?
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering
This
too.
is like a wrought iron fence that's totally see-through. It's not like a wooden closed off fence. Like a wrought iron fence that you could see through that's like 8 feet tall.
But no gate, like you can't walk through.
That's what I was... With all of it, I'm sure there has to be a gate. But the question is with all public parks, how often is that unlocked? Because, they can unlock them and lock them when they want. In a lot of cities, you see these parks that are gated off, and sometimes they're locked, and you're like, why is it locked? America Gonzalez, that's the branch manager at Austro Financial Services, half a block away, said that the odor that used to waft from the park made it clear that's just what's happening. I guess in reference to them, defecating and other things in the park. I'm still feeding them, said Angels on the Ground founder Jessica Perez, a parole officer who lives in Newark. So you have a mix. You have a mix of feelings on this article. You have people that are in favor of the fence. You have people against the fence. And I think homelessness is very complicated. That's the one thing that nobody can disagree on. It's how do you figure this out? Do we, what do we do with the homeless? These are other humans. We don't want them, peeing on statues and stuff. And that's what I felt that even in my town when I saw this situation. I'm like, well, what's the solution here? But I think the fence is a great short-term solution because the guy can still be in the park if he's got to be there, but it just protects the part of our cultural value here in the center with the veterans that doesn't impact anything. I guess that was the thought here with this big statue is they were going to protect the statue, but they went around the whole park. I don't know the solution here because you put the fence up, it doesn't resolve homelessness. The homeless guys that are peeing in this park will just go pee in another park.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like they're just gonna go somewhere else.
And this is right next to Newark Penn Station where you were just mentioning before.
Yeah, like I was there just a couple months ago, and like it was shocking how many homeless people were there. And like I feel, there's always been homeless people, but like the area where you just wait in, where they have like the big sign and stuff. I mean, like every bench in there is just like taken by people sleeping, like who are clearly homeless or just like loitering there.
Yeah,
and it's always like you go to like the McDonald's there, and like someone's gonna ask you to buy them something. Like there's almost no way to go to that McDonald's without somebody asking you like, "Oh, can you buy me this?"
Yeah,
I've had a few conversations with people there, the homeless people. They're not bad, but they just have nowhere to.
Yeah,
live.
they just have nowhere to go, and it's like
it's crazy.
Some
are bad.
Everybody's situations.
Some are definitely bad. Whereas
everyone's situation's unique. You can't. There's no like silver bullet to describe. You got a bunch of people that have different experiences. Some with drug addiction, some that are veterans, some that came on hard times. It's some with mental illness. It's all different people, and there's no like one size fits all answer to the problem.
No.
But nonetheless, it seems like the city of Newark's trying to figure it out. Will they figure it out? Probably not. I mean, this is not just a Newark, New Jersey thing. You look at California right now. Governor Gavin Newsom is currently ending the tent thing. Have you heard about this?
Him ending it or like?
Yeah, he's like coming down hard on the homeless now.
When was the last time you've been to like California or like LA specifically?
I haven't been to LA since, probably 2016 was probably 8 years ago was the last time I was there.
Because the homelessness it's
bad.
Wild. I mean, you actually have like tent cities out there, like driving by certain areas.
Yeah, so that's what they're ending.
Especially along like the highways and stuff.
They're going to remove homeless encampments.
So last time that happened, they had it happen because the Chinese president, I think, was
I
coming
remember.
I
think that was in San Francisco where they cleaned it up like overnight, and then. But like, it's crazy. Like my brother has told me some stories about like walking down the sidewalk, and there's like legit like buildings that homeless people have constructed. Like they have like a doormat. It's just like on a sidewalk.
Like a shanty town?
What?
Like a shanty town?
Well, I don't know. It's not like a group of people. It's just like one person who's just like kind of thrown something together. But it's like they have like a front door. They have like a doormat. It's like, this is on a sidewalk. And you just like went to Home Depot, grabbed some plywood, just like built this thing real quick. But like, it's crazy that they don't get removed. They could just stay there.
I saw a meme that said something to the extent of me getting a $200 parking ticket in front of it was like a picture of a car in front of a guy with a homeless house, kind of like what Ralph's describing, like a makeshift home, or what you were describing. And it was just kind of showing and that's how I felt in my town. Like literally I got a parking ticket parking in front of my house in my town. And then you have people that are living for free in the park. And it's like, I'm not saying that their situation's better than mine, but there is a little hypocrisy in that the town is more than willing to, my rent is paying taxes in the town. Like for all intents and purposes, I'm a tax-paying citizen.
Yeah.
I'm doing my part, and I park in front of my house overnight. I get a ticket. And everybody, once again, I love going on this Facebook page. Everyone was like, "We have a rule: no overnight parking on the streets." And I'm like, man, keep that same energy when you talk to me about the World War II memorial. You know what I mean? Like they were so quick to come after me about this memorial where a guy's peeing on it. And then me, the guy that's paying taxes to be here, parks in front of my house overnight, I get a ticket. I'm like, as a culture, we do have this weird, things are a little topsy-turvy right now. And we gotta kind of come back to common sense a little bit. I think that there's some absolute craziness going on. And we could just be reasonable with each other. Be reasonable. It's very reasonable to say don't pee on a World War II memorial. It's very reasonable to also be like, hey, if we're going to allow that, maybe we should just let people park on the street overnight. Maybe.
Which one's worse?
I mean, goodness, I came back really from a wedding and my daughter was asleep. So we're like, let's park out front because it's easier to get in our house. And I'm like, how crazy is that we're the ones getting penalized? Nonetheless.
How much was the ticket?
I forgot to pay it. So it went up even more. It was like $55, something like that.
I just got one for that too.
Crazy. So let's keep moving. We have two more stories here. A New Jersey family is suing a funeral home after discovering a veteran's remains were never buried at a cemetery. You open the New Jersey News and you see stuff that you're like, holy smokes. But a New Jersey funeral home is being sued after the family of a veteran who died more than 30 years ago say they were misled over how his remains were handled. For more than 3 decades, Debbie Uraga has been visiting her father's gravesite at Mount Olivet Cemetery in Middletown. But she only recently discovered he was not buried there. Instead, his remains have been stored in a basement for years. Oh my goodness. Uraga believed that when she visited the cemetery, she was paying respects to her mother, Eileen, her brother, George Jr., her sister, Jorlene, and her father, George Jonas Sr., who died May 16th, 1993. Her father helped raise her 3 kids, and in turn, she took care of him for years as his health declined. He's just sitting there for 31 years, and I was shocked. Like, this was unbelievable, Uraga said. Eyewitness News reached out to John F. Flegger Funeral Home, who handled the services and cremation, and they said in a statement that their attempts to reach out to the next of kin remain unanswered. We can assure you of this. The funeral arrangements and cremation services for Mr. Jonas were handled with the utmost care. Unfortunately, our files and the family's recollections of what happened over 30 years ago do not agree. Simply stated, the visitation was provided, the cremation occurred, and we have been in custody of Mr. Jonas' cremated remains up until they were turned over to the family at their request. All attempts by our funeral home to seek final disposition instructions from the Jonas family next of kin remained unanswered until we attempted to provide an honorable burial of this man's cremated remains in our state's veteran cemetery. Uraga said she was never contacted and believed her father was buried at the gravesite. The family has since recovered the ashes from the funeral home, and they have hired an attorney. The attorney for the family, Michael Shaw, released the following statement in response. The funeral home said it perfectly. They don't have a recollection of what happened 30 years ago, but my client and her family recall, oh man, lawyers are so lawyerish. This dude with the statement, oh my goodness, let's read that again. They don't have a recollection of what happened 30 years ago, but my client and her family recall and are now reliving this. So the funeral home represented to Ms. Uraga that it would coordinate the cremation with Monmouth Memorial Park. A headstone was placed there, and the cemetery even placed a veteran placard. Why would either entity do that if they didn't believe his cremations were buried there? It's nonsensical, unfortunate, and heartbreaking. Anyone is attempting to shift blame to a woman who was misled for 30 years. Also, how many funeral home employees passed by and saw the box cremation sitting there since 1993? Yeah, that is kind of a good argument, though, I will say.
Yeah.
Like the funeral home, I get they're saying, we reached out and nobody got back to us. We reached out for 30 years. I mean, I think that's the type of thing where you have cremated remains. You do your due diligence for a few years trying to get in touch with somebody.
Yeah.
It sounds like
I wonder if it's like somebody working there dropped the ball like 30 years ago, and it's like now they're trying to cover for them. Because I doubt the person who like made the statement about the funeral home was there 30 years ago when this happened.
That's the thing with all this sort of stuff. Honesty is just better in the end.
Yeah.
Just come out and be like, we really somehow messed up. Somebody messed up. And maybe it wasn't me, but we'll take ownership.
But they're also being sued, so it's like you don't want to just come out and be like, yeah.
Now, on the flip side, you're right about the lawsuit. On the flip side, when you go to a gravesite, the way I've always seen gravesites is it's a memorial in the same way that World War II memorial is a memorial to the family member's life. The fact that, visually in my mind, sure, it helps that my future, like when one of my parents passes away, they're there, and or forget that, my grandparents who have passed. Yeah, there's the visual of they're there in a casket, but they're not there. Like they're dead.
Yeah.
And I'm not justifying in any way they have every right. I'd be just deeply disturbed if this happened to me for sure. But does it change on a philosophical level? Does it change how you've memorialized your parent?
I don't think it changes. It's just like, I don't know, like when somebody you love dies, like even though they're dead, like you still care about what happens to their body, even though, like I said, they're not there anymore.
For sure.
You still like, you want to take care of them.
Yeah, that's why people buy nice caskets and stuff.
Yeah. You don't just like throw them out in the garbage. So I guess it is, I would definitely be unhappy. If
I'd be
somebody
unhappy
I
too,
loved, and it's like they were storing them in a basement, and I thought that they were at this one spot that I paid for.
Yeah, that's the other end, is you paid for it. You paid for the plot. You paid for that's the weird part though, is there's a weird gap here between, did they bury a casket then with no body in it?
Well, they said he was cremated. So you could bury someone's remains that way as well.
No, but what I'm saying is, for the family, when a funeral and a burial happen, it's very visual. Like you know what's going on.
Well, and maybe they just didn't do it in front of them. Because like I don't know, when you bury someone's remains that way, like their cremated remains, I don't know if that's like the same ceremony as burying someone in a casket.
So
where you actually go there.
So then this is what I'm trying to figure out. Maybe was the family's plan to cremate him as well? Is that what you got from that article? And then they wanted
to bury him, but
so it's just the cremated remains were in the wrong spot.
That's what it sounded like to me.
Okay.
Yeah, like his remains were just sitting in a basement.
I took it as they thought he was buried like in a casket under this, and really he was cremated in a basement.
Oh, maybe that is what.
I don't know.
Which would
it's weird because
if
how
that happened, that would be insane.
I'd never seen them put the dirt over the casket once they put it down. I've never seen that personally. So they could have done a switcheroo. But
the old switcheroo.
The old bait is switch.
But also, if they were cremated, is that the only one, or is it like a trophy case of like urns?
I would imagine this is the only one, but maybe they'd have a few. Maybe I don't know, because
they probably have like a section for like unclaimed.
It sounds just like a mistake was made.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm thinking, and it's like it's one of those things. I don't know, small businesses or places like this, like a funeral home, like you kind of have stuff that just gets thrown to the back, and I just imagine it like sitting on the shelf in the basement, and people have been passing through there for years, working there, and nobody's really ever questioned it because it's just been there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
until someone brings it up, and you're like, oh, like I didn't even realize what that was for, who that was from.
Yeah. Well, I feel for this family. I hope they get their whatever this justice is that they perceive to be justice. I hope that they get it, and we'll see if anything else happens here. I'd imagine that, like you said, there's going to be a lawsuit. They have a lawyer involved, and something's going to happen. All right, let's move on to our last story of the day. In Westfield, New Jersey, a large explosion and fire has reduced a home to rubble.
It's weird how often this happens.
Home explosions. It's another thing once you realize with the plane crashes we talked about earlier, a lot of homes blow up all the time.
So would you ever live in a home because of that or no?
When you put it like that, I think I'm going to go to the park.
You're going to go hang out at the park.
Yeah. No, I think typically it's not the norm for a home to blow up. This is typically the result of a gas leak, which means you had shoddy work done in your home. I think I may have said this in a previous episode. I saw a TikTok video a while back from an HVAC guy, and he was showing an exhaust pipe from, what do you call it? Actually, no, maybe it was a plumber, because it was an exhaust pipe from a hot water heater, I think, in the basement. And so basically, hot water heaters burn, and they have exhaust fumes that have to go out because they're burning. And you need to have a metal pipe bringing out exhaust fumes because it's very hot. And he was in this house where someone used a PVC pipe. Someone was doing shoddy work, and the PVC pipe completely melted. And he's looking at it with this old lady, and she's like, "What's wrong? What's the matter with this?" And he's like, "You need to get out of your house right now. Like, you need to get out right now." Because a spark in that room, the whole house blows up.
Yeah.
The whole house is filled with gas. How she didn't die from carbon monoxide poisoning, I don't understand. So I don't think the norm for a house is to blow up from gas leaks. But when you have things not done up to code, that's why we have a lot of codes in New Jersey. We have lots of standards for this type of thing.
Yeah.
But this home, thank goodness, nobody was in it. It was just an abandoned home, which that feels like that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way too?
Yeah. And like, how does that happen in an abandoned? Like, did someone sneak in there, or just somehow,
Or maybe something sparked. Maybe it was like the
Somehow
gas had been
happened
leaking for a
naturally.
while, and then finally
Something just
electrical
sparked
sparked. An overnight explosion rocked the neighborhood in New Jersey when a home in Westfield exploded and burst into flames. The house in Tudor Oval was unoccupied at the time of the explosion, and no one was hurt. The incident happened around 10:30 p.m. Monday. The sound shook neighboring homes and brought area residents out of their houses. Neighbors say they saw the home engulfed in a ball of flames and debris shooting into the air. We heard a loud boom explosion. It sounded like a car exploded out front, so we came out front to look at it, an area resident told Eyewitness News. We saw flames and a neighbor screaming, "It's a fire, it's a fire, call 911. Nearby power lines and trees caught fire as flames escaped the burning house. The Westfield Police Department, along with the town's rescue squad, worked to evacuate the surrounding homes in the area. According to neighbors, the home has been abandoned for 15 years. An elderly couple previously occupied the home and passed it on to their son, who did not maintain it. A spokesperson with Elizabethtown Gas said they are working on site with emergency officials, and their top priority is the continued safety of employees in the community. The cause of the explosion is under investigation. With Elizabeth Gas being there, it sounds like a gas fire.
I think the craziest part of this story actually is it was passed down to someone who didn't do anything with it for 15 years.
Yeah, in Westfield too. That's like some prime property, is it
That's
not?
what I mean. Like the amount of money that they just wasted.
I mean, it just feels a little bit like like there's a bit of a waste there, and we have maybe it was an insurance thing. Who knows? Maybe he blew up the house for insurance money, a little bit of a payout.
Who knows? But that does seem insane. Like, imagine your parents give you a house and you just like,
We'll leave it.
just let it sit there.
15
Like,
years
just
later.
sell it.
You could have sold it, could have earned rent on it for 15 years. Like,
That's what I mean.
imagine
Like,
a home in
that's
Westfield.
so much money that you just missed out on. No,
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. He's just leaving
pile
on
of
the table.
rubble.
Yeah. Well, that's our last story for the day. It's a shorter episode this week. Before we hop off, guys, Chomik's back next week. Any closing thoughts before we leave? Anything you guys want to say?
No, I got nothing on my head.
Nothing on your head
Nope.
besides hair.
Yeah, and headphones.
Good point. Hey, Ralph, thanks for standing in this week as our producer back there.
Yeah, no problem.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Are we in focus still?
We definitely are. We never left focus.
Great. Excellent. Yeah, guys. Hey, everybody. Thank you. We have some exciting stuff coming up in the near future with the Garden State, talking through interviews and other stuff. So just be ready for what's to come. Otherwise, we appreciate you all so much. Have an amazing week. We'll see you next Friday right here in Jersey, baby. Have a good one.
See ya.
You're listening to the Garden State. The Dirty Jers.